Wow.
Well, I was
There's no
shocked
reason
when
not
I
to
did.
just turn it on right away.
Huh?
All you do is turn it on right away, you just don't have to push record.
Yeah, I didn't even think about doing that.
Okay.
Morning.
No.
Yeah, it's going.
Okay, first item on the agenda is the consent agenda.
I so moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion by Marilyn, second by Scott. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Next up, we have Paula Hazelwood, the Director of Advanced Southwest Iowa Corporation, and an update on our quarterly activity. Paula, you are up.
Yes, good morning. Thank you for allowing Shalimar and I to come in and update you on our activity. I want to give you kind of a recap of 2018 real quick, and I apologize to Supervisors Wickman and Belt as they've heard this at our board meeting last week, so they'll have to endure it again. But I'm going to give you a quick snapshot, and then I want Shalimar to talk specifically about what she's been doing in rural Potawatomi County. And then, Tim, do we have another agenda item as well?
You do.
With the, okay. Okay. So in 2018, we fielded and or worked with over 50 clients. We responded to 10 requests for proposals or information. So those are items or documents that we get from the Iowa Department of Economic Development or site selection consultants or sometimes companies directly. We conducted 130 project meetings. So of those 50 projects that we talked about, we actually met with those individuals either in person or conducted conference calls with them to talk to them about the projects. We have, I want to talk a little bit about the number of projects we currently have in our pipeline. It's pretty robust. 2018 was a very, very busy year for us, and with the addition of bringing the rural economic development under our wing, it certainly added a lot of cool and interesting projects. So the one thing that I will note is, you guys probably know this, but it's always good for me to reiterate. Some of the projects that we work on, they could take a couple of months. Some of the projects that we work on take years. So some projects that we work on, they roll over from year to year, and I want to kind of give you a little flavor of that. I'm still working on one single project that I started working on when I took this position in 2016. 2017, 8 of those projects that we started working on in 2017 have rolled forward, and we're now still continuing to work with them in 2019. We inputted 20 new projects in 2018 and 5 so far in 2019. So that's for the City of Council Bluffs and Carter Lake specific. It's a total of 34. And then as we brought in the economic development for the rural counties, in 2018, 11 projects, and then Shalimar has been able to identify 4 additional projects. So we have close to 50 projects collectively that we are working on in all of Potawatomi County. So it's a pretty robust pipeline of companies. Of the 2018 and the projects that we landed, we were able to land 8 projects in 2018, and I'd be happy to sit down with you individually and tell you exactly who they are and the investment in the jobs and all of those things. But I will tell you that those 8 projects resulted in about close to $55 million in capital investment and about close to 200 new full-time and or retained positions. We have a very important to us program for existing businesses. We're out there meeting with businesses one-on-one to talk about economic development, to tell them about the programs and services that we can help them with. And we conducted close to 50 of those last year in 2018, which is pretty good for a 2-person shop to get out and conduct that many meetings on top of all of our project meetings. We attended 3 conferences. Our staff had 6 different opportunities to get some additional education. One of those was I completed my Master Practitioner certification last year, and then our project coordinator, Nikki Ferguson, attended her very first economic development training with the Heartland Basic course. Shalimar will attend that in April of this year. We launched a brand new website, which was pretty important to us, and it's going fairly well. We have a substantial social media push. We put out articles each and every day on things that are happening in Potawatomi County, but we're looking to increase that obviously as we move forward. We did 3 different business spotlight articles, and again, that's something that we'll continue to do. We negotiated 4 land sales working with the Council Bluffs Industrial Foundation. We've closed on one of those land sales in December. We're scheduled to close on another one in March. And the third option that we have right now will be taken to the Industrial Foundation for consideration tomorrow morning at their monthly board meeting. We were also able to identify that the South Point Business Park Phase 1 or Phase 2 had not been designated an urban revitalization zone, so we were able to work with the City of Council Bluffs to get that taken care of. That was accomplished in just January of this year, so we're able to use our urban revitalization program for that. One of our biggest successes is we were able to obviously work with the Board of Supervisors. We really appreciate your commitment to advance Southwest Iowa and your partnership in bringing the rural economic development under our wing. The biggest accomplishment is we were able to hire Shalimar to be the manager of rural development. And in my book, she's doing a fantastic job in her role thus far. She's been with us since October. We were also able to work with the city to negotiate an increase in our annual investment that they provide to us of 25. We were at 100,000. They now give us 125,000 annually. And of course, we continue to work on our partnerships with all of our various partners, 712 Initiative, both the CV and the Omaha Chambers, the city, the county, just pretty much all the WIDA, all the partners that we typically would work with. Leading into 2019, I've shared our 2019 program and work with you, but again, I'm always happy to sit down and talk with you if you have any specific questions. You know, of all the projects we have, I can't review all of them with you, but I will tell you that this year is going to be, I think, a really good year for us, even more robust than 2018. We have pretty aggressive goals. We've changed our focus a little bit on some areas that we're working on. The rural part is, you know, definitely a big part of that play. And, you know, as we go through 19, we will be in here at least on a quarterly basis updating you, you know, with the information. And, you know, I hope that you will feel free. You have our cell phone number, so I hope you would feel free to reach out and contact us. Should you have any questions, if you have a company, I can say, you know, I work with Matt Wyan a lot, and he's a great partner of ours. And, you know, if he has companies that come in, he's consistently referring those to us, which I appreciate. And vice versa, I go to him for advice and different things that we need on property. So a really good relationship working with Matt and his team. And I'm going to turn it over to Shal, and then I'll review the next part.
Hi, everybody. Again, I'm Shalimar Mazetis. I wanted to update you guys that so far, since my start in October, I've been able to make it to 29 city council meetings. I do my very best to make it to every single city council meeting I can every month. Some of them fall on the same day, so sometimes I don't get there until every other month, but I do make it to as many as humanly possible. There's kind of twofold in that. One, I really want the cities to know that I'm there to help, and I really am just a fly on the wall. An amazing thing has started happening where the city councils have actually started asking me for help and advice and suggestions, which is wonderful, and I can't tell you how amazing it is when that happens, because they really start seeing me as a partner and an asset that's there to serve, and they're just excited that I'm there. Overall, the response to this position and the amount I've been able to get out there has been incredibly positively received. People are excited about this. They're excited to see focus on rural Pot County. I'm excited to see it. It's going really, really well. We are compiling a list of all of our cities with where their sewer and water capacities are as far as growth goes. The abutting landowners, are they willing or are they not willing to sell? Would they potentially be willing? What sites are available in each city? What sites are available around the county, even if it's outside city limits? So we're putting all of that together in a nice spreadsheet so that if Paula were to say, get a phone call where somebody said, hey, I need this, we're able to look really quickly and be able to see if the town has the water capacity right now, or if they have the sewer capacity, or what we would need to do in order to upgrade that. When was the last time it was updated, so on and so forth. So that's part of me just getting kind of settled and making sure that everything is easily grabbable for anybody that would need that information. Right now I have 15 projects in my banks that I'm working on right now. I have 2 landed projects, which is awesome. You know, we've only been around since October doing this, And to have 2 projects landed is really, really exciting, especially because the life cycle of an economic development process is usually a lot longer than just a couple months. Just a couple of the projects that I wanted to update you guys on. I'm working with a manufacturing company that's a fairly significant employer in rural Pot County to increase infrastructure updates, mainly their power. And so we've got their power supplier on board, and we're all talking about it and figuring out how we can help them. I'm also working with a distribution company or another manufacturer, and we're talking about significant infrastructure updates there as well, having more to do with water. And being able to see how we can work with the city and the company to come together and get the water supply that they need during the summer. I'm working with a truck customization company that just recently expanded and is already ready to expand again. We're working with their industrial foundation with that town, and they're actually gifting a piece of land to that company for them to build on, which I'm just so excited to see the industrial foundations of each town really putting the effort in and saying, yes, it's there. If you want to build on it, let's do this. So we're making sure that they're all set as far as environmentals go and that they're ready to build. I am also working with a city that has a very, very large retail established companies there. And I'm trying to help them figure out how to get an e-commerce website up and running that would share all of the 15 businesses, would be able to put into one e-commerce website and be able to put their product up online so that they can have better sales revenue throughout the year as opposed to the dip that happens during the winter. That's been really exciting to see, and I'm just the town is really into it. The people who own these businesses are a little bit older and don't have a tendency to like to want to do, they have a tendency not to want to update a website consistently. So we actually found a company that will upload and do everything on the website, including the billing on the back end. All they have to do is send a picture. And it's about $100 a month per company. So it's really affordable for them. It's not going to break their bank, but hopefully it'll bring in a lot of revenue. And then I'm also working with another city on annexing in land that has recently come up for option. To get all of that land into their city limits, and also working with a fiber optics company that's coming into 2 of our cities to find them lots and places. So that's just a couple of my projects. I'm really excited about it. I also had the opportunity to take a couple people from Omaha on a rural Pot County tour. This is just a little fun flyer. My thing with, when you're visiting 12 cities in one day in 3 hours, they have a tendency to blend together and you don't really know which one was which. So I made up this little flyer for them, and it just has not necessarily economic development things on it, but things you would remember about each town. For instance, McClellan has the amazing Dew Drop-In. I mean, people come from all over to go there for taco night. It's so fun. The biggest hit out of all of this is the white buffalo. I did not picture that would be the biggest hit of the entire tour, but they were very excited about a white buffalo, and it was a huge thing. And so she was our shining little grace there. So it went really, really well. We have right now 6 sites that are already designated for industrial or commercial use. And so I'm working on getting all of the due diligence done on those and making sure that those are go-ready sites. So, and finally, we have located our office in Oakland, Iowa. We are on Main Street in Oakland. It's 120 North Main if anyone wants to drop by and see us. We will be doing a grand opening sometime in April or May or June. We're going to partner with a couple other companies that are down there, one in particular that just opened and hasn't had a grand opening either, so that we can all kind of do it together and do a giant block party and make it really a celebration of all the cool things happening out there. So, yeah. Any questions?
Well, and this piece too is digital, and we're happy to share this with you, but we plan on using this when we're working with different companies and just individuals where we can send that out digitally as well. So as you can see, we have a lot of stuff going on, and again, we're always here to answer your questions and specifically to help the businesses all throughout Potawatomi County. The last thing that I will say before, yes, sir.
Is there any questions for Paula or Shalimar?
I had a couple questions.
Sure.
One was, have you been working with OSI?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, they were one of the companies I discussed.
That's a big company. so-
Yeah, we had a really incredible meeting, a business retention meeting with them, and out of that came a project that they needed help on, and we are moving quickly through that, so.
We have a follow-up meeting scheduled with them.
Next week.
Next week
Okay,
with the city as well.
and do you know how the wind turbines are coming along?
Yeah, actually, we just met with them 2 weeks ago. They're doing really well. They're at 70% of their goal right now of the land they wanted to acquire and that kind of stuff. As far as right now goes, it's still not a for sure if they're going to move forward or not. It's one of those things where that could take another year or so. They did let us know that they have, put in for certain accreditations that they have to put in for in studies. But it's moving along very well.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else, questions for the board? Okay, Paula, you're second. Did you have any more comments on?
No, I was just gonna say, as far as landed projects go, thus far this year, we have landed 4 projects. So again, I'm happy to sit down and tell you who those companies are. It's about $4 million and about 10 new jobs. So we're still early in the year, but I thought I would at least mention. And some of them are in rural Pot County, so we're happy to have a mixture of both on the landed list right now, so.
Okay, your second item is the discussion and or decision to approve the amended and restated articles of incorporation and and authorize the chairman to sign amended bylaws for Advanced Southwest Iowa.
Yes, so this is something that's been an ongoing process for us, probably about third quarter last year, because we've had so many changes within our organizational unit. I took a good hard look at our operating agreement, our bylaws, and our articles of incorporation, and figured it was about time that we actually amended all of those and got those resubmitted to the Secretary of State. So you've already approved our operating agreement, that's done, that's signed, I've sent copies to the county clerk so you have the full signed version on record. But what you have in front of you today is our amended articles of incorporation and our bylaws. And really, most of it was just language cleanup. I have all the changes highlighted. I don't think I really need to walk through each and every one of them with you. It was mainly language cleanup in the fact that, with our partnership changing structure with not partnering with WIDA or Mills and Harrison County, those were the major language changes that were taken out. And the third one, when these articles and bylaws were first drafted, and Scott probably was around, probably helped do them, I don't know. There was a clause in there that said each and every time we were to amend, we had to come back to the city and the county for approval. And I think that was probably vitally necessary when the organization was first structured. But we're going on 6 years into this organization now. We're governed by, a very well put together board of directors, and leadership that has oversight over everything. So anytime we would do anything substantially to our organizational structure, we would always come to you and tell you well in advance. So I worked with a legal counsel to review all of this, and he said we probably can just strike that out of both the bylaws and the articles of incorporation. So really, those are the main changes on both of the documents.
Who's legal counsel?
Tony Talke, ours.
Yours, okay.
Yes,
'Cause
ours,
I think, excuse me, but I think Maggie was the one that, wanted that in there originally.
Yeah, and originally I definitely could see a purpose for it.
So I don't know if our legal counsel reviewed it and commented or not.
I've sent all of those documents in numerous times.
To,
Well, to the clerk, to Melissa.
Oh.
I mean, I know Matt Wilbur reviewed our operating agreement, and he said he didn't have any issues with
Okay.
any of the changes.
Okay.
Because it was, mainly the language cleanups.
Okay. Do you have any questions for Paula?
I just wonder, what's the status of WIDA?
We have met with WIDA a couple times, and they're operating out of their new Oakland location as well at the Golden Shovel Agency. We've just been informed that they basically are doing more of a rural chamber aspect outside of the economic development that we've taken over. So But we will continue to partner with them whenever we can and work with them.
Thank you.
That's really all I know, sir.
So back to this subject,
Yes.
the only thing I have is Article 4 has been changed, is that? I just have it circled on here.
Oh, the purpose?
Yeah, is that what you changed? What all's been changed? You said you changed the language about the legal thing.
Yeah,
What
the legal cleanup of just the taking WIDA out in Mills and Harrison County. Article 4, the registered agent, so it was
Right.
still listed under the original registered agent, which was Bob Monk, the former president and
Right,
CEO of the
okay.
chamber, so that has been changed to me.
Makes sense. You just need a motion for approval?
That's what I'm looking for, yes.
I'll make the motion to approve chairman to sign the amended bylaws of Southwest Iowa Corporation.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any more questions for Paula and the board?
No, we sure
Yes.
appreciate the report.
Oh, thank you. We need both approved articles and bylaws.
Oh, I'll amend that to say articles and bylaws.
Thank you.
Second concurs.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. No further questions. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Paula, is this the copy you need signed? Is there-
Can I bring you back a copy
Yep.
to sign? Yep, I will bring you back a copy to sign.
Okay,
I mean, it'll be the same. It's just I have a clean copy with no staple holes or anything in it.
okay. All right, thank you.
both.
Thank you guys, thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Good catch. Well, it was written there, I just didn't read that line.
That's okay.
Okay, thanks, Paula.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Shalimar.
Thanks, guys.
Next up, we have John McCurdy, Director of Southwest Iowa Planning Council, discussion and decision on the funding request for fiscal year 1920 with Southwest Iowa Housing Trust Fund. John, you are on.
Thank you. Good morning.
Morning,
and
John.
Good morning. And I do have to say that, in a way, although, it would have been nice to have the discussion on this completed at our last meeting, I have learned new things at every one of your supervisors meetings, so I appreciate that, very much. And, I would just like to take this opportunity, I think, just like with you're fortunate in Potawatomi County in that you do have a lot of groups that want to help and have legitimate, very good, positive purposes and messages. So I think that it would be good for me to take this opportunity to talk a little bit through about what is the Southwest Iowa Housing Trust Fund, what do we do, and really the main point that was brought up at the last meeting was, well, wait a second, what if we didn't participate with Southwest Iowa Housing Trust Fund? Take those funds that are generated from the population of Potawatomi County and put those into a different group or a solely Potawatomi County group. So I thought I'd just address those points and from my perspective and give you some more information, make a decision. I did send to Melissa, I don't feel a need to project this, but I'm gonna talk off of this. Do you have copies of this? I brought some if you don't.
Yeah, pass them out if you would.
Okay. Here, if you would. Thank you.
It'll get scanned in there,
Well, I think she just scanned in documents, so
Right.
we don't have the actual PowerPoint.
You got one? That's all right. And Scott, I do want to say before I get too much further into it, we immediately added all of the counties to the headline of our website to make sure that Potawatomi County was on there, of course, with all the others as well.
Okay.
I've got about 4 months worth of stationery left, so I'm gonna have to address how I'm gonna deal with that.
Okay.
I'll make sure
Yeah,
those
yeah.
are out there.
No, I mean, it's just,
So just getting into, if you flip to the first page, we were established in 2005. All of the, Southwest Iowa Housing Trust Fund is a 501c3 organization. And I think there was a little bit confusion last time, and I added to that by saying, well, we have a 2080. Well, no, actually, Southwest Iowa Housing Trust Fund is a 501c3, and you by resolution have designated it as the Housing Trust Fund for the area of Potawatomi County exclusive of Council Bluffs. So I wanted to make sure that was understood as well. we serve a large area. There's about 124,000 people in the total area, excluding Council Bluffs. And last year, we had projects in every county. We do pretty much every year have projects in every county. And each county pays $5,000 in dues. And that's what the request was, not just dues, but of course participation. And those have been set as a lump sum per county since the inception. We haven't done them as per capita or anything like that. It started out at 3,000 and then it's moved up to 5,000.
When did it move to 5?
2 years ago.
Okay.
And so this, I think, is the third year of $5,000 going into 2020. And that is also because we are a 501c3 and our board is separate from, there's not a designated county rep per se on the board. That is something that when that change happened and going forward, it's a different board than you making that decision. Why do we go from 3,000 to 5,000? Well, there's lots of reasons behind that, but that's something that I think, one of my last slides here, of course, is can we do more, of course, and that would be one thing I'd want to talk about. On the next page, you can see a map. This is something we did at our annual meeting this year, just to kind of show that we are distributed all across the region. And you can see, there's a lot of lumps over certain areas. Obviously, a town of 5, 6, 7,000 is probably going to have more dots over it than a town of 500 or 600. But this was really just to show that really we are trying to be throughout the entire region. So I'd like to go ahead and flip over then really what our core programs are. And that really, we have what's called a Housing Assistance Plan, the HAP, okay? Every year we develop that program, and that is an IFA requirement. All housing trust funds need to have a HAP. And as we look across the region and as we're in the communities, really, whereas some more larger population areas might have bigger issues with, let's say, multifamily complexes, large buildings, things like that. What we have identified as our number one thing that we need to address is the owner-occupied housing rehab. So folks that own a home, maybe it's your $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 house, and really we want to keep that as being a valuable piece of our housing infrastructure. And so a lot of our resources are dedicated to that owner-occupied housing rehab. And I'll talk more about that as well. We also have a down payment assistance program, and that program is very popular. What we do is if you're low to moderate income, which is 80% of the median household income, and they have a purchase agreement, we can do up to a $4,000 forgivable loan. So really it's a grant. If they live in the house for 5 years, that full amount is forgiven. And that is a huge help for people with down payment. Again, we're talking a lot of homes, really the top end is usually around $100,000, $110,000. Most are in the $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 range. So that can really get somebody from not being able to get into a home to home ownership. We also do an additional $3,000, which is a 1% low interest loan for 5 years. And some people choose to take that, some not. But in the end, they could get up to $7,000 of assistance towards their down payment.
So they have to refinance that then once they take that loan, or is that?
It's usually all in their closing statement, because they obviously have a loan with a bank.
Right.
And so on their closing statement, the bank knows that they also
The
have.
first 5 years will be 1%. That essentially is giving them I'm assuming they're 20% down on the house. So
In a lot of cases, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's putting that. But they do have to pay that back, the 3,000 above the 4.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. And then as far as backing up right before
Sure.
you said these folks are getting into these loans, are they have to live in the house for 5 years or they have to recoup, or the money gets recouped, is that right?
Right, so that forgivable, the first 4,000 that they potentially wouldn't have to pay anything on.
Right.
If they move out after 1 year, they owe us 4/5 of that back.
Gotcha. Okay.
And usually then there's proceeds from a sale, and we're always second to the bank. you know, so there's situations where that money doesn't come back to me, but those are situations where then they don't have the money.
Right.
Then the demo of dilapidated housing structures, that is something that really there aren't a lot of programs that are dedicated to residential demo. I mean, and we're talking, in order to qualify for our program, the city or county has to own the property. So it can't be, you know, Joe's house and he didn't take care of it. The city has to take ownership of that property. Then what we bring to the table is we help the city, let's say they've never demoed a property or they've never dealt with that. Obviously, they have to abide by asbestos, all those things. So we can help them go through that process. And our grant is up to 50% of the total cost. We cap that at $15,000. A lot of demos, that $15,000 cap easily covers half. There's some, I know Red Oak demoed a building that was $152,000 just to demo it. Well, we gave them $15,000. You know, that was our cap. And that is actually what we use the dues funds for. So that $40,000 a year that the dues generate goes into the demo program. And here's the reason why. Is that although demo is an allowable program under IFA's rules, they're fine with us doing it and they see the need, they don't want any of their money going into demo. You know, when they're looking to rehab structures or build new, they don't like to show, well, and our money demolishing structures. So they're perfectly fine with us using that money, and we know that there are very few programs out there to help with that. And in some cases, what we really look for is, if this property would go, then what's the future potential for the other properties on the sides? In fact, right now, I'm missing the meeting where they're scoring those applications for that, and Underwood has one in there in the queue. We also do lead-based paint abatement. Usually when we come to a property, that's obviously something we have to address. New construction, I put project-based. We don't have an annual fund that we put towards new construction. But over the years, like say after the financial crisis of '08, there were different programs, and we've done a decent amount of new construction. Purchase, rehab, resell is what it says, where we go in and purchase a property, rehab it, and resell it. We've found that we are not the best flippers in the world, and so the way we've restructured that program is that we now do it as a loan program to the local community. Right now, Stanton, Iowa the Stanton Industrial Foundation has a $50,000 loan with us. They purchased the property, rehabbed it, and then when it sells, they owe us the money back. So that's
short-term loans.
Yeah, it basically can help a group like that bridge financing until it sells. And the way we structure it is they have 2 years, and after 2 years, then they have to start paying it back, and it's pretty hefty. I think it's 3 or 4 year payback period. So they want to sell it to them. And it has to be a low to moderate income buyer into the property.
What's that range? What's that look like?
I
mean, you say that.
It's a very good question. Like, what are the numbers? It varies a little bit from county to county as far as what is the median income. And so when I say low to moderate, that's somebody, their household's at 80% or low or below that. So
is this the IFA's setting or standards in for that, or is that?
Right, and that's a good segue. I think, we follow the rules. So that's my next slide there, is that these parameters are set. So IFA, we have to 80% is kind of the top end for most of our programs. And just to put that into context, I don't have the chart in front of me right now, but in Pottawatomie County for a family of 2 or 3, that's going to be $38,000, $40,000 a year income is going to be at the 80% level. We also have some requirements for IFA to do some 30% income, which is very, very low income. That's $12,000 to $15,000 a year. That's Social Security income. But if you think about somebody that's in a home, maybe they own it completely, but they couldn't afford to fix it, but we want to keep that in the housing stock, that might be a good investment. So those aren't things, I wish I could set the income levels, particularly on, like, say, that home buyer assistance, because it is right on the edge of what a bank will underwrite. But that's kind of where we live as far as our programs. The housing rehab that we do is done to the Iowa minimum housing standards. The reason I bring that up is one, is that not all counties have adopted any kind of universal building code, obviously. And you do want to do this work to a certain standard, obviously. So Iowa has developed this, it comes from like work with CDBG through Iowa Economic Development Authority and IFA, these standards. They're, in my mind, they mirror code in a lot of ways, but they're kind of common sense in others. But the reason I put that there is also that there are properties that we would love to rehab, or maybe we get a little bit of political pressure, hey, you need to go in and fix this place up, and we get on the inside, and it's gone. You know, we could not, within our budgets, fix that house up, you know, and we have to make that decision, unfortunately, more often than we would like to pass. Because in the end, you're investing in these properties, and if it would not hold its investment, we shouldn't do it. We've talked a lot about income. Part of that, it does have to be thoroughly verified. It's a process. You know, you're talking getting statements from employers, tax returns, all those kind of things. So I have staff that work on that, because you also don't want to be subsidizing folks that maybe don't qualify. And I've talked a little bit about that the assistance, most of the programs, it is structured as a forgivable loan. So we do have a lot of mortgages out there. Actually, in most cases, those are in a second position to whatever lender they may have. And so then we do monitor that. We release them when their forgivability period is up, you know, because we do. If someone were to go out tomorrow, get their house fixed up by us, and then go sell it for a big profit, we want to make sure that we recoup that, and that's the purpose of having that mortgage on there. So when it goes and sells, it's taken care of. Our primary funders are Federal Home Loan Bank. We don't receive like a direct amount through them, but we have been very successful in securing grant funds through the Federal Home Loan Bank. The Iowa Finance Authority, obviously IFA. Iowa Economic Development Authority for various CDBG programs that we might do, and then of course the member contributions that are made. On the next page, as I said here, it takes an experienced team to do it well. There's a lot of moving pieces, obviously, especially since we've made that commitment to particularly focusing on owner-occupied rehab. The first person whose picture is there, top left, Dave Reedman. He really is, he's our boots on the ground in a lot of ways. He is out in these homes. He's the one deciding what needs rehabbed in this property. Can we fit within budget? He's talking with contractors. I'm putting in a big request here, no matter what happens with this meeting today, is we need contractors. And that's not just us. And we pay our bills. You know, that's probably the biggest limiting factor he has. So if a project stretches longer than we would like, it's either because maybe the homeowner didn't get paperwork in a timely fashion, or he had a hard time getting contractors to work on it. So that's my plug. If you know people, give him my info. And in the end, he signs off on the work. Project coordinator Sandy Hansen, she really deals with making sure that all these ducks are in a row. We don't want to have to give any money back to any funder because we messed something up. She also monitors those contractors as far as do they have their licenses, their insurance, all those things. And she also maintains the overall project budget as we're going through each project. Tammy DeBoard, she does a lot of our grant reporting. So Federal Home Loan Bank, IFA, IEDA, all those, they love their paperwork and the reports. So she makes sure that we are on top of that. And then Ann Anstey, finally there on the bottom right, she really coordinates with the homeowners, especially on the front end. You know, we get a lot of people contacting our office, hey, I hear you have this grant program, I can get my house fixed up. So talking through those programs with those people and working through the income verification process. And all of them have, Dave has almost 40 years of experience as a contractor, realtor, and as an inspector. You know, Sandy's been doing this for 10 years, Tammy's been doing it for about 10. And Ann, although she's only been on our staff for 2 years, she worked with mental health and health before that, so she's been a real good customer service fit for us. So then, the next slide, really, this was kind of our snapshot for last year, which actually was kind of a down year for us. Usually about $1 million gets spent through the Housing Trust Fund. So we were a little bit low. We didn't have an FHLB program in that fiscal year. I'll talk about that a little bit more. So this is throughout the whole region. This isn't necessarily just Potawatomi County. So then, kind of getting down to brass tacks, I think, obviously, the way that IFA, which is one of our funders, distributes the funds that they have is through a per capita formula, and that's what was brought up at the last meeting. Whenever anybody purchases a property in Iowa, there's usually the real estate transfer tax, okay, and that generates X amount of dollars for the whole state. The state legislature then sets aside a certain amount of money for the housing trust funds, and they designated IFA to come up with a fair way to distribute those. And the way IFA does that is on a per capita basis. So over the years, Potawatomi County, just the same as the other 7 counties in the Housing Trust Fund, has contributed about $49,000 in dues over the years. We started off slow, and then now it's up to $5,000. I don't think it's an onerous amount, but it's still an important piece. And from IFA, we've received about $660,000 over the years in that per capita amount. And again, it fluctuates. We've had one census change during the time of the Housing Trust Fund, and that amount that's available fluctuates from year to year. It's been pretty normal the past few years. In a total of about $4 million from IFA over those years, we have distributed about $12 million in that time. And again, you look at Federal Home Loan Bank, CDBG, those other projects that have been there. And gotten what? So then I went through the various years and programs and went through the list and came up with $2,183,380.35, give or take, of funds that have been invested in Potawatomi County, exclusive of anything that we've done in the city of Council Bluffs, because if you recall, we administered the Council Bluffs Housing Trust Fund for about 3-4 years. So I did not include that because that's completely separate from this. And that is direct assistance. That does not include any admin funds that we receive, anything. That's money that was spent on people's houses or on the loans for our assistance to them. Then on the next page, I kind of broke it out by the main program areas. So we've rehabbed 122 homes out of 1,115 total. That averaged $11,860.
So, wait, just,
Sure.
John, the 1,115,
Total for the whole 8 counties, and that includes the 122.
that's the total number of homes you rehabbed?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
Okay.
and that's what each of those
Okay.
then is. If I say total or overall, that's for the across all.
so do we know, it's 8 counties, right?
Right.
So do we know, and Council Bluffs, out of the 8 counties, the only one that isn't in.
Right.
Okay, do we know how many single-family homes there are in those 8 counties?
I end on that point.
I
So
know that gal does.
yeah. So
In
and,
this county.
right, and so let me, because to
Okay.
me the main point is low to moderate income households, because they're the only ones that qualify. You know what I mean? But if you'll indulge me for a second,
Okay.
I hope I'll
Okay.
address your question. So yes, over the total programs, okay, as far as housing rehab. If you'll flip over, single family new construction, we've done 16 units in Potawatomi County. A lot of that was after there was some funds after the financial crisis of 2008. Particularly Avoca qualified for some properties, so there's some houses there in Avoca. Across the region, it's 53 total. Dilapidated housing, we've demoed 5, so that program that we've talked about, and it's not a huge number total anyway, 47, but 5 of those have been in Potawatomi County. And the down payment assistance, really that is behind pace, I would say, as far as Potawatomi County goes. That only 12 home buyers out of 302 were in Potawatomi County. So that is something that I think, when I say, can we do more? You know, advertising that program. That being said, today's what, February 20th?
The 19th.
The 19th. We're almost done with this year's funding that we started spending on January 1 on that program. So it's very competitive. So then I'll slip over to who can be recipient. And this is where I think I'm trying to address your point. Is that as I look at the non-Council Bluffs area of Potawatomi County, from 2010 data, I see about 4,400 low to moderate income households. Okay, so folks that household would qualify at the 80% or less level. And the large majority of these households are in incorporated cities. So they're not necessarily, you know, they don't have a rural Council Bluffs address. They are in Underwood or in Walnut or whatnot. And if you think about it, this is where the houses are. Throughout the 8-county region, there's approximately 24,000 of these households that would qualify out of a total of 44,800 total households. So about half of households might qualify. And again, I'm not an expert on Council Bluffs, but in looking at the same data, I came up with there was about 14,000 LMI households in Council Bluffs out of approximately 24,000 total households. So if you look at it on a percentage basis, yes, Potawatomi County LMI households make up about 18% of the eligible households in the 8-county region. Now, I didn't go into preparing this presentation knowing whether or not it would pencil out for you, quite frankly. And over the years, Potawatomi County has received almost exactly 18% of the dollars that we have spent on our programs. If Potawatomi County combined with Council Bluffs, I do think that the proportion of LMI households that the non-Council Bluffs portion of Potawatomi County would go up to 23, 24%, something like that, about a quarter. But I didn't want the impression to be that it would be like half, you know, or exactly equal. And I want to stress, again, that we have invested well over and above programs way beyond IFA. You know, over the years, we've received about $4 million in IFA money. We spent 12. You know, those are other grants and things that we brought into the region. So I understand it, and I get the concept that, well, if we don't send that money over there, we will have that money. And I really didn't want you to make that decision based on the assumption that you weren't getting that money now. You know, that when it's described as more, and I get that. Well, we'll have 50,000 more. Over what? So that was the main thing that I wanted to convey here. And I do have, I think it's my last slide. My last slide, second to last slide, excuse me, is that the question was asked about, well, how many, I'm sorry, Supervisor Wickman, if I paraphrase your question incorrectly, but I think you asked me how many permits have been pulled in unincorporated Pot County in the last year. Well, the answer is none, okay? And I want to explain that because, you know, we talk about we've done 1,115 housing rehabs. And looking through those, out of that 1,100, across the whole 8 counties, about 30 are to rural addresses, okay? And of those 30, almost half, about 12, are actually, most of them have rural Council Bluffs addresses. So actually the higher percentage, let's say, of these unincorporated households have received those funds. And really, that's a factor of some of the rules that we have to live with. And frankly, wouldn't go away if this money went to a different group, okay? So as I see it, one of the issues is demographics. Obviously, I think as you drive around the county, in some ways, a lot of our areas, that old house that used to be inhabited by somebody, now a lot of them have been pushed in. You know, that's something we're seeing. There's not as many out in the county residents. I think there's still an important factor, but they're not as many as big of a piece. Probably the biggest limiting factor is on the project budgets. So I talked a little about those Iowa minimum housing standards. If I go to a house in, let's just say Walnut or whatever, there's just a house, there's maybe a single family or a single car detached garage or whatever, it's pretty straightforward. I'm gonna have lead-based paint, but it's gonna be on that house. It's gonna be hooked up to the city's sewer system, et cetera. If I go to a house out in rural Walnut, maybe there's a barn, maybe there's an old chicken coop. All of those I have to address the lead-based paint with those, and I'm probably gonna have a septic that we're gonna have to deal with. And unfortunately, we're gonna run out of money before we start addressing the things that the homeowner really wanted fixed, was the windows and the roof and those things. So, and it's not unique to Pot County, it's across the whole area. So we do tend to be in the incorporated cities. And then the final thing is that ownership, we see a lot of houses that are also rented out in the rural area as well, if they weren't built in the last 10, 15 years, So those are just some things that I see that aren't unique to Pot County. They just kind of address that issue. Could we be doing more in Potawatomi County? Absolutely. I alluded to that. I've actually enjoyed my time in the back, let's say. I've enjoyed my time in the back at your meetings because you have a lot of folks coming here talking to you about the good things that they're doing. And I think that's something we can do more. I think that is a disconnect with the way we are structured as a separate 501c3, that you don't have necessarily a board rep like Maryland is on our SWPCO board. And I apologize, I mentioned the wrong Paula. It's actually Paula Danker, who is on our board, and you probably realize that, but thank you for not correcting me at the moment. So we do have Pot County representation, but I think we can do more to communicate that. The next thing is something that, again, I'm not approaching this solely as a Potawatomi County issue, but all of them, is that a lot of our funds have been designated for region-wide. Okay, somebody living in Sydney, it has maybe an equal chance than somebody in McClellan, okay, on those. And that is really following the rules. What we would like to see more is, I don't see these funds, IFA, FHLB, et cetera, growing exponentially, to where we have more money than we know what to do with. I like what Carson's doing, okay, and we're working with Carson in that they have TIF revenue that they have to reinvest in low to moderate income folks. They did housing development that generated that income. And so we've used the model from the Housing Trust Fund and helped them with LMI folks. And the good thing about that too is, if you have your own program that you structure, we can also kind of set our own rules on that. So that's something any board of supervisors I would talk to is, going into the future, is, do we want to start designating some funds that are designated? Leave it at that. And also, I've talked about, we have approached our dues as everybody just pays to play, so to speak. You're buying a place at the table, and so you're at the same level that Fremont County is. And so I have a hard time putting one person in front of another. You're all paying the same dues. No, per capita, you're paying less. So in the end, obviously, from where I sit, and from the programs that we have and the staff that I think, which really is, I think, our key asset, the experiences that we've had, I personally think that Potawatomi County is actually better in Southwest Iowa Housing Trust Fund. Are there things that we can do within the Housing Trust Fund? Sure, I'm all ears and open to that. So I do wish that we would continue our current relationship that we have. I'd ask that you would budget the $5,000 dues for going into next year. And I'm not opposed to, I mentioned that we did administer the Council Bluffs Housing Trust Fund. It itself doesn't have a huge administrative budget, which I know has been difficult for them, maintaining administrators and things of that nature. So I can see where there might be some areas of improvement that we both can do. So with that, I'm more than happy to take questions. I appreciate your time.
The only question I'd have for you real quick, John,
Yes, sir.
is what is the deadline for application for those funds?
So we match the dues to all of our fiscal years, okay? So we would hope that you would budget that for, obviously, this upcoming July 1. But our our program each year is due in the fall and then starts again like on a calendar year. So the dues you would pay, if you were to pay it this year, would go into the year starting 2020. So it makes,
So, but if, for instance, that
Sure.
we were to vote to provide funding to Southwest Iowa Housing Trust Fund,
yes,
when you apply to IFA for those funds?
yes.
What's that date?
That's in the fall, that's like
Okay,
October
so
something.
a decision today doesn't make a lot of difference. I mean, it doesn't have to be today. It would need to be done before you set your budget in July 1. Is that fair?
Obviously, I would like some certainty as we go forward, working on, I have, take for example, Federal Home Loan Bank. We're not all these programs are on the same year, et cetera. You know, that's a 2-year program that starts now. Is Potawatomi County not gonna be in the second year? Am I gonna have people in that program that then, when the year ticks over, am I going to take them out of line? That is a question I have.
What
We-
year are we in now? We're in the second year of the first year or the first year of the second?
Good question. The start of the first year of
Okay.
that.
Started when?
Well, we've got a meeting on it like next Monday, so we haven't started paying that money out.
So it starts March 1 through
Sure,
through
through 2 years from
February?
then.
through February?
And then another year after that,
Right, but through February is the year.
for that one program, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess I need to see what all those programs are.
Sure.
And did I think I understood your answer to the chairman's question, but so if those projects are done within the corporate limits of our communities, they may not require you to get a permit or be permitted activity, but if they're done outside of the communities in the rural part, are you getting permits for those?
If we need to. So like in Pot County would be a county that we would need that. And so we didn't have anybody that got to the point where even worried about pulling a permit. The permit is not our issue as far
The
as.
contractor,
No, I just mean as far as, is that a box we're gonna check whether we're gonna do that project or not? Permitting,
no, I
It's not.
understand that, but so is that the contractor's obligation to get the permit
sure, just as
that you
any,
contracted with?
right.
That
Yeah.
it says in his contract that he needs to?
Any local permits, we're still gonna inspect the work for cause we sign off on an Iowa
Right.
minimum housing standards, but they might have 2 inspections, I
Okay,
don't know.
Scott, just to parlay on that question, it says in his handout here that 12 of them were in Potawatomi County.
Yeah, over
Right.
the last
Are you
several
talking,
years,
are you talking the last 15 years, 14 years?
yeah.
We've done 12?
In the unincorporated, we've only done about 30 in the unincorporated area, an area the size of Connecticut.
yeah.
It's not
I said-
necessarily where the houses
Right,
are.
right. How do those programs match up with the programs that are done similar through West Central? Have you ever looked at that?
Oh, sure,
The
their
live
weatherization programs,
yeah.
things like that. We actually kind of bounce off each other quite a bit as far as, let's say somebody comes to us and their primary issues are weatherization. We might put them towards them because they have funds that only do weatherization. Okay, they might have other needs, let's say maybe lead-based paint issues or something. So there could be some recipients that have money from both of our agencies in this.
So that depository of data that's been done to those structures is kept in separate silos at West Central and at SWPCO. And so if that property turns, which if you look at
Sure.
the statistics, people don't stay in their house much over 5 years.
Right.
So is there somebody making sure that that's not getting
Right.
replicated, you know?
Well,
You follow where I'm going with this?
I think so. That's where I talk so much about that we file mortgages and track the liens.
No, I understand that piece, but
Yeah,
the next person comes in and fits the LMI bucket and they want, you know, a new
Right.
roof or new windows or insulation,
right,
and the guy before him got the new furnace,
yeah,
and now the next guy, you know,
right. And I think, if I understand you, yeah, you don't want somebody living in a Taj Mahal because it's turned over several times.
Well,
Eh,
I just don't understand, and this isn't to you.
Okay.
I mean, just the programs from the federal, the state level, we got these different entities
Yeah.
out there doing very like things for these
Sure.
people, that need this assistance,
Right,
you know? And without a central depository to identify that, it
Well,
just is
and-
crazy in my mind in today's world.
yeah. And let's say, Lynn, I'll pick on you. Let's say you got your house weatherized, okay, and then you move out, and Scott, you buy it, and you come to us to apply. Well, if we see that it's been weatherized, well, that's not your fault, but we're not gonna do that work. There might be other work that needs done to the house. Or if Lynn trashed that house, it's not your fault that the weatherization's gone. You know what I mean? So we exclude, if we've done a property in the past, we go at least 10 years. So if it turns over,
So that property's been identified for 10 years not to get any funds.
From us.
On your side of the bucket.
yeah,
But-
now,
But if the guy goes to West Central in his bucket, then I don't know if do they work on a 10-year,
I don't know,
see?
yeah. And, you know, yeah, we do run into situations where, we have definitely gone into houses and those people that live there did not know that it had been fixed up, you know, and our inspector inspected it 10 years ago and says, oh yeah, I remember that. That was a tricky door because of historic or whatever. So, those are kind of rare.
Yeah,
I think I understand.
more,
Or
not probably as rare as you think, but
I know.
more so. I mean, when you look at a housing stock that's probably, you know, most of it was structured for basically back then, 30 to 50 years.
Right.
And we're living in houses that are 80 and
80,
100
yeah.
and pushing those numbers. I mean,
I know. But again, I think that's why we've chosen to focus on that, because it is so much of the housing stock that's
Right.
available, and with limited resources, we wanna save it.
okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, I think everyone's seen the correspondence that we got from our planning and development director that he is in talks with, City of Council Bluffs and IFA on, creating a partnership with the City of Council Bluffs and the possibility of bringing in an additional $65,000 a year. This board can certainly go whatever direction it wants. You know, I don't think, in my opinion, a decision on the funding has to be done today. It can be if you want it to be. I'd like to give Matt the opportunity to explore a little more and make sure that every dollar that we can get to provide assistance in Pottawatomie County stays in Pottawatomie County, and we capture those funds. So with that,
Well, I guess I would prefer to make a motion to just table this I don't know if you want to say, table is the correct one, or postpone, and get clarification, and this is maybe part of my own ignorance, and get that resolution that we passed in 2005. I wasn't here then, and, get some legal consultation with that, and then, by next Tuesday, we should be able to have this resolved. So that would be my motion.
just to postpone.
Yeah, postponed until, today is the 19th, 26th. Are we meeting then?
I don't know.
Okay.
Or something.
Uh,
March, whatever it is.
okay, so March 5th,
Is that what it is?
yeah, Tuesday?
Well, you won't be here.
Pardon?
You may not be here. I don't know when you're coming back.
Oh, no, on
Later.
Wednesday.
NACO.
So March 12th?
That's the public hearing on our budget, so yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
if you wanna set it then, Scott,
Yeah.
that's perfectly fine.
Okay, March 12th.
Okay.
At 10 o'clock.
Do you need a second?
I do.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to postpone to March, 12th at 10. Is there any other discussion from the board?
Yeah, so, I mean, I guess the one thing that, the lens that I'm looking at this from, because no matter what route we go, I'm more concerned about making sure that money gets into Potawatomi County, you know, and I get Council Bluffs has their own housing trust fund, and so let's just say hypothetically we went with the Council Bluffs one, I want to make sure that equal amounts of money are still getting out to that county and not just specifically the city of Council Bluffs. And I get it, they're part of Potawatomi County, but I don't want the rural folks or the rural communities to miss out on any, because it kind of seems to me that what you have now is more rural focused. So I don't want that to get drowned out if we do merge, and even if that's $68,000 more a year going into, I want to make sure that that money's actually getting out into the county and not necessarily just Council Bluffs. So I'm kind of torn on the issue one way or another, so I need to think about this a lot more and get more information and.
Well, based on what John said today, and I think it's probably accurate, and we should probably get the West Central people in here and explain their housing program so that all you guys have a grasp of what's going on there. But it's the housing is typically in our communities within our county. There's very little housing that's done outside the corporate limits of the communities, you know. And, you know, I think a lot of our communities, and we need to, it's been a good question to have when we had all those mayors together. That's why I think we have another meeting with them. They struggle with money, as he alluded to originally in the thing, on demolition.
Yeah.
And the DNR has that grant every year for demoing houses, but it's such a small amount of money, and it you know,
Yeah.
I don't know the
Statewide.
exact statewide and stuff, so the available lots, because those communities all have, basically the infrastructure already within their corporate limits, their sewers and their waters and their power and stuff, but the money to, their budgets, to tear, spend $10,000 is a big amount of money to tear something down and get
Oh, yeah,
it
absolutely.
site ready, so.
Yep.
Okay,
I was kind of curious. I kind of like, I mean, it's not a big amount of money, $5,000.
no,
But to get these homes, these are the lower priced homes and the lower income people.
right,
So, and I think what Matt's talking about is maybe a step up from that.
no, you can't.
No, it's
You
actually
fit-
exactly
you
the
fit-
same.
You fit in the same bucket, you can't.
Yeah.
You can't change the rules.
So
For
all
this money,
Matt's
yeah.
proposal
Yeah.
was is that we'd be able to leverage those funds based on a population specific for Pot County. So there'd be more money that would come to Potawatomi County versus the region. And so the struggle I have though is making sure that those funds are leveraged outside of the city,
That's my problem too.
Right, so I mean, I wanna understand that more before I make that decision, because obviously if we can get $68,000 more and put that, and I know that's going out to the rural communities, absolutely, it's a no-brainer, I wanna do that, but if it's not, and that's just gonna leverage more funds for the city, I'm not willing to make that call, I just don't think that's right, so I think you are on the same page there, but I need to understand that a little bit more before I make that decision, because you're right, $5,000 doesn't seem like a whole lot of money, and we can
For
put
as much
$5,000
good
in
as
both
it
pots,
does.
it's not a big deal for us, it's just a matter of how the numbers are counted.
If you
That's
wanna
what
put
affects it.
more in, that would be fine, we would take it. If I might.
And I assume the rules are you can only be in one housing trust fund, I assume. Is that correct?
Correct.
For the state of Iowa? Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
When I left the last meeting, because it was a bit out of left field, because the Housing Trust Fund over the years has kind of been kind of a softball. I'm just being honest, there wasn't a lot of questions asked, except in the past couple of years, and I get that. You need to hold our feet to the fire. So I contacted IFA, and I was like, can you share with me the same information that you're sharing with Matt? And of course, Terry Rizonki did. She sent me the email correspondence. And I was a bit perturbed, and this is not, it's not directed at Matt at all, but that email exchange was, wow, I was sitting here at that board meeting. It wasn't like some long thought out process. I know there's been conversations, but that specific email was as I was waiting to come up here, or maybe even up here. So I think that's where if we're gonna table this, I feel like, well, you have, that
Well, we voted, yeah.
that I've tried to do my due diligence of explaining to you that it isn't, as I said, it's not 50,000-60,000 more. It's just, that's assuming we haven't spent it on you, and I think we have, so.
Well, there was until probably, I'm gonna be probably pretty close on my date, 2010 or 2011, there was, I don't think, a housing trust fund in Council Bluffs.
Right, yeah, they weren't set up.
They didn't show up here until,
Yeah,
and Mike Alford and Rose, I wanna say it was like my first year.
Brenda was first.
Brenda
Yeah.
Carrico and my first year here, I think,
Yeah.
so.
yeah.
So,
But they've never been part of Southwest Iowa Housing Trust Fund, they just didn't have one and then did have,
yeah, and
yeah.
I don't know that we ever gotten much data out of that. I'm sure they can give it to me. but-
Sure.
Okay. But that's kind of where we're at.
Well, I've taken up a lot of your time, but I
No
appreciate
worries.
you.
No problem.
giving me
Coming
the
back.
chance.
Okay, any other questions for John?
No.
Okay, we have motion and second to table until the 12th of March. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Nay,
Let's take about a 4-minute break.
Yeah, I'm with you, like, if I know that extra money would go out to rural, yeah, we're voting all day long, you know, but if it's not, then no way. I'm not just gonna do this to hand Council Bluffs more money and have the county suffer. That doesn't make sense.
Well, I hope something gets done if we get,
Right,
I
cause I mean,
hired,
oh, did you? Yeah, pretty sharp.
we had a guy over there we hired, he didn't know he had good work.
Oh, yeah, I remember that, yeah.
So
You guys
I
fired
would-
him, I remember that, you were part of that too, were you?
I fired him,
Yeah.
I had to pay him off,
Oh, jeez.
so we got rid of him, but
every fourth.
I don't know why, we had a pep talk with him. And that didn't even, he sounded like he was gonna go to work and then he didn't.
Oh, jeez.
But you know, when you're not over there,
Well, yeah, you don't see it, right?
no,
John and
I
I
had
talked,
some employees finally tell me.
but not the board.
Thanks, John.
See you, John.
Thank you.
I got called.
Guess I should cheers with a red cup, I think it looks really bad. It's not beer.
Some grant that they could put in.
But I wanna see some good done in the way they do it, and they're still gonna have the other 7 counties.
Well, I wanna see one of them come to us and ask us for demolition money. Huh. I mean, in my mind, there's no reason why we can't throw
Not aware of that.
$100,000 set aside or something for that purpose, but it's never been brought to us, you know?
You know, up there in Avoca, this one guy was from down around Glenwood, and he bought a house in Avoca.
Mhm.
And he went on for a year and didn't work on it.
No, I don't want to give them.
And then the next year he had time, so he thought, well, I'm gonna work on
Well,
it.
I've been really pleased with what
It
they've
was
done
gone.
in Carson
They
especially.
demoed it.
So Glenn,
A little bit in Avoca.
Well.
Glenn said,
Oh,
I'll give you
problem.
another.
I mean,
It's like Victor.
So that's what he did.
Hey, Matt,
That doesn't
you
surprise
got,
me.
let's get that resolution.
Yeah, I made down the notes.
Okay, did you?
Grab that resolution.
You know that was the case?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it was.
It's not only us, it's every small community in Potawatomi County signed the same resolution.
Oh, is it okay?
Yeah.
It wasn't 28 E's.
No,
Okay. Did all the communities do it?
The Iowa Finance Authority wasn't sure if they did or not.
Okay, well, we should be able to find that.
That's what I figured.
Okay.
That's what I put in my staff report on the next steps part of it, is,
Okay.
So you're gonna meet with each one of the mayors?
yes.
Well, we need to,
It depends on which way the board
well, we
supervisors
need
decides
to,
to
we need
go.
to meet, we should meet with them anyway, I think, once or twice a year,
Mhm.
just like we did with the sheriff's deal.
Do you have that much of a demand?
That
I do
report,
too.
you know that report?
We do
that
have
you have
a
from
lot
the
of
sheriff?
demand, and I
We-
think that's
don't know
kind of
why
part
we
of the
don't get
issue.
that.
Yeah.
Even when you look at the
Yeah.
homebuyer assistance numbers that he provided for homebuyers assistance, we've only received 3% of those funds in Potawatomi County. And we make up, he used the LMI numbers, we make up 26% of that population base. So our homebuyer assistance numbers should have been up towards 26%. We're only seeing 3. And those are issues that, and it's not just the IFA funding that we're after. When you look at that, and that's where you have the $12 million, that funding, by us acknowledging this person has our housing trust fund, then that amplifies all the funds that they can go after. And so, I mean, he used a little skewed numbers going on there, but that's what
Yeah.
I'll put it together for you and submit it so you can see what the percentages work out to be.
Okay,
Yeah. Well, I had some of those same percentages.
Yeah, I mean, we got 10% of the housing rehabs done in Potawatomi County, 122 out of 1,100. And again, we should be up towards 26% of housing rehabilitations, and we have that housing. We have housing in Potawatomi County, rural and in the small communities that need that. You look at Loveland, almost every house on Loveland would qualify for some sort of LMI rehabilitation. And no, they don't receive it because it's not advertised that it's even out there for them. So we need to make sure that we get the due diligence for our residents, and so, but I'll put it together and so it's kind of a readable format for you.
So,
And the clip about well thought out,
Lead the discussion on
it was well thought out. This has been a 2-year
so
conversation.
and she's sitting here, so let's have the discussion. So if they, and I don't know if there's a minimum or maximum, if they spend $5,000 on a house doing repairs, does that trigger you then with a permit?
There's a permit.
There's a
Okay.
permit.
And then that should be a permitted thing?
Even a roof is a permitted thing.
Okay,
You go to put a new roof on somebody's house,
Right.
it's a permittable
So-
deal.
so
You put a
then
new
that-
furnace in,
so that
that's a
triggers
permittable
them.
deal.
but if I window weatherization and stuff,
No,
that's not permitted?
you're not gonna pull a permit to.
Put windows in?
A window.
Okay, but a furnace?
Wait,
Furnace.
putting windows in though?
No.
Wow.
Size for size, no. Enlargements, yes, but when you're just doing, what those kind of rehabs are, it's just gonna be
Size for size?
Okay.
But a furnace would trigger,
Furnace would trigger a
air
permit,
conditioner trigger?
yes, cause
Okay.
you wanna inspect those hookups.
Gotcha.
Okay,
so how
Okay,
much
when
are
you
you gonna,
reassess the house at a higher
you're gonna
value?
ask us for?
It's a
yeah.
vicious cycle.
And the people know, and the people come in and,
I'm not
The
I'm not
people
I'm
want
not
us
asking
to
for any
manage
funding requests,
later
I'm just,
taxes.
that we
Okay.
utilize that. The board already voted to give the Council West Housing Trust Fund $6,000 in funding. And it's just my goal
guys
is
wanna
to
come
have
up?
the board
Are you-
acknowledge them, but.
we were having.
It's like church.
We'll put one on.
Okay.
All right,
But we give them one now, we should.
absolutely, we should right now.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, thanks for the break.